This is Gareth Southgate, and this is the Three Lions podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England football supporters podcast. Here we are. It's another preview episode, but this one has a twist. We'll be previewing two games that we can actually attend. Finally! Hurrah! This is an episode that you can listen to on the way to the game, however you're travelling, by foot, train, car or coach, should you be fortunate enough to have gotten a ticket. But even if you're watching at home, we haven't forgotten you. From the comfort of your own sofa, thank you for tuning in. Montenegro at Wembley back on the 14th of November 2019 was the last time we saw the team in the flesh on home soil. 19 months ago. A long time. In that time, the Three Lions have played 7 times behind closed doors at Wembley. And as we've seen with various games recently, the admission of fans to stadiums has been so appreciated by players, fans, commentators, volunteers, whoever has been inside a stadium. And I fully expect these next 2 games to be no different. I'm very much looking forward to it. Coming up, we'll be speaking with correspondents from both Austria and Romania. We'll get a guide to Middlesbrough from a true Borough and England fan. But first, Gareth Southgate announced his squad for the tournament on Tuesday the 25th of May. You may remember I tried to second guess him on a recent episode. How close did I get? Let's find out. So, a squad was announced, but he's teased us with a provisional squad of 33 players, which won't be trimmed down until the 1st of June. Now, in his press conference, Gareth Southgate explained the reasons behind such a large number. I think our situation is more complicated than any other country at the moment, so we were always going to need some additional players for the first part of our camp. Of course, he is referring to the amount of players being involved in the European finals that are still to come. Players from Manchester City, Manchester United and Chelsea. And he also said, we felt that more time would allow us to make better decisions. There are a lot of unknowns and information and evidence is really important when you're making decisions. We'll have a lot more in the next 7 days. And with this squad, you've got a nice balance with some young players who, whether they're with us for 1 week or 5 weeks, it's going to be a brilliant experience for them. So who are those 33 names then? Let's run through them. So goalkeepers, we've got 4. Dean Henderson of Manchester United, Jordan Pickford of Everton, and Sam Johnston of West Bromwich Albion and Aaron Ramsdale of Sheffield United. And those last 2, actually 2 relegated keepers from the Premier League this year. 12 defenders. Top of the list, Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's made it into the 33. Ben Chilwell of Chelsea, Connor Cody, Wolverhampton Wanderers, Ben Godfrey of Everton, and we'll get to him soon, Reece James, Chelsea, Harry Maguire of Manchester United, Tyrone Mings of Aston Villa, Luke Shaw, Manchester United, John Stones, Manchester City, Kieran Trippier, La Liga winner with Atletico Madrid, Kyle Walker, of course, Premier League winner with Manchester City, and Ben White of Brighton and Hove Albion. I say we'll touch on Ben White and Ben Godfrey very soon. Midfielders, 7 of them. Jude Bellingham, Borussia Dortmund, Jordan Henderson of Liverpool, Jesse Lingard, of course he's at West Ham United at the moment, but on loan from Manchester United. Mason Mount, Chelsea, Calvin Phillips, Leeds United, Declan Rice, West Ham United, and James Ward-Prowse of Southampton. 10 forwards. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Everton, Phil Foden of Manchester City, Jack Grealish, Aston Villa, Mason Greenwood of Manchester United, Captain, Harry Kane, Tottenham Hotspur. Don't know how many more times we'll say that. Harry Kane of Tottenham Hotspur. Marcus Rashford, Manchester United. Bukayo Saka of Arsenal. Jadon Sancho of Borussia Dortmund. Raheem Sterling, Manchester City. And Ollie Watkins of Aston Villa. 33 players, a total of 566 caps. And there are 87 goals within that team. And team-wise, I know we always like to run through them. Manchester United have got 5. Manchester City have got 4. Everton, Chelsea and Villa have got 3 each. Dortmund, West Ham and Liverpool have got 2. West Brom, Sheffield United, Wolves, Brighton, Atletico Madrid, Leeds, Southampton, Arsenal and Tottenham have all got 1. As I say, I mentioned the goalkeepers. We've got 2 relegated goalkeepers there in Sam Johnston and Aaron Ramsdale. And that's because Nick Pope, so unfortunate as he's undergone minor knee surgery. And with just 3 weeks until the tournament begins, it's going to be a big ask and a big risk to select him. It's such a shame because obviously he played those 3 World Cup qualifying games in the absence of Jordan Pickford back in March. As I mentioned, there were a couple of standout names there. Notably Ben Godfrey of Everton and Ben White of Brighton, who both have had standout seasons for their respective clubs, but neither of them have been selected by Gareth in any squads. Full stop. Godfrey, he's played under 20 and under 21 level, whilst White has never experienced an England environment. So perhaps a little surprising. So who did I predict that didn't come through, or vice versa? There was no Eric Dyer, no Michael Keane. I guess Godfrey and White took their places. Trent Alexander-Arnold, well, he's in. I mentioned that, didn't I? Well, for now. As are Connor Cody, Tyrone Mings, Bukayo Saka and Ollie Watkins, who I perhaps done them a disservice and said that perhaps they wouldn't be making the squad, but I wasn't to know that there was going to be 33 players selected. But the real test is going to come when Gareth has to reduce this list to 23, or 26, however you want to look at it. The uncapped players, do they stand a chance of making the final cut? It would be incredibly cruel to call them up, then release them. However, Gareth did say in his press conference they are both exciting young defenders. They're very flexible and can play different roles. And this is a great opportunity for us to get to know them a little better. So perhaps, reading between the lines, this may just be an introduction for them both. And I guess Aaron Ramsdale too. And to take the 33 down to 26, I'm going to make a call. I don't think Aaron Ramsdale, Ben Godfrey, Tyrone Mings, Ben White, Mason Greenwood, Bukayo Saka and Ollie Watkins are going to make the cut. That must be one of the worst parts of being an England manager, is telling particular players that they are not part of a tournament team. I don't envy that on anyone. But we'll find out Gareth's final selection on the 1st of June. Okay, Austria and Romania coming up. Let's find out a little bit more about them. Okay, Austria are up first when we face them Wednesday the 2nd of June. Kickoff up at the Riverside is 8 o'clock. And here to join us and tell us a little bit more about Austria is Lee Wingate from the Other Bundesliga podcast. Lee, hello there.
Hi, Russell. Thanks for the invitation.
You're more than welcome. The Other Bundesliga, go on quickly, just tell us about that. 3
Brits based in Vienna. A few years ago, we decided that we'd all try and fall in love a little bit with our local league, not really knowing much about it. Started really as a hobby, going to games as fans and all that kind of stuff. And it's transformed quite quickly. We're now accredited journalists here. We've done some cool interviews with the likes of Salzburg coach Jesse Marsch. And yeah, now we're gearing up for the Euros. So it's going well.
Exciting times. Cool. Well, we'll touch on where you can find that and just a little bit more about that towards the end of the chat. But as I say, England, Austria coming up at the Riverside. The Austrian squad has been announced, and I always like to just go through a squad and sort of pick out names that I recognise. And there's only the one. This is the initial 22, I think. There's only one that plays over here in the Premier League, and that's Daniel Bachmann, the Watford goalie. And to be fair, he plays second fiddle to Ben Foster anyway. So there's not really many names that England supporters may recognise from these shores, but there's David Alaba of Bayern Munich, and one or two other names. But go on, just sprinkle a bit of stardust on some of these players from Austria.
Sure. Well, David Alaba would, of course, be the best known one. He's obviously a Champions League winner with Bayern Munich, a serial winner, moving to Real Madrid this summer as well. His situation is kind of strange with Austria because he usually features in defence for his club, but then as the kind of star player in the team, he's put a bit further forward for the Austrian national team. For good or for bad, I think probably they could do with him in defence, to be honest. There are plenty of other good players, though. A lot of young players coming through, particularly at the Red Bull clubs, Salzburg and Leipzig. You've got the likes of Andreas Ulmer, a veteran left back. He's a good player. Then, Marcel Sabitzer of Leipzig, he scored a couple of stunning goals in the Champions League as well. And yeah, most of the players are based in Germany, really. The vast majority of those called up by the coach Franco Foda are based in the German Bundesliga. Other ones that really stand out to me as someone who watches Hoffenheim a lot is Christoph Baumgartner. He usually plays on the right of the attacking front three. And then on the other side, well, you'd either have Alaba or Sabitzer in the middle and Sasha Kaladzic up front, the Stuttgart striker. So there's plenty of young talent there.
Okay. And you mentioned, obviously, a lot of them are based in Germany, which is, I guess it's unsurprising considering you are neighbours. But what do the Austrian people think about this as a squad being predominantly based or come from Germany?
I can tell you what we think about it from our podcast point of view, and it's a bit of a sore point because he only seems to trust players that play in the German Bundesliga. Obviously, the level's higher, but there are plenty of talented players who are really coming through in Austria at the moment, and it's a shame that they seem to get consistently overlooked. He clearly wants players that he can trust as, proven at a higher level. In terms of what most people think about it, I think the general consensus here in Austria is that it's a talented squad with a lot of ability, but they're kind of being held back by the coach. These are players that play some really attacking, high pressing, entertaining football for their clubs. And with Austria in the national team setup, it's very conservative, reactive. I don't know what I'd compare him to as a manager, but I suppose Mourinho without the silverware. It's very, very, reactive. And I think it's a shame because this is in a way a kind of golden generation for Austria. And it feels like because of him, they're not living up to their potential.
Okay, that's interesting. And the manager, he's Austrian, is he?
He's German, actually, which might go some way to explaining why he only includes German players. But he was the Sturm Graz manager in Austria for a few years, and then he became the Austrian national team manager a few years ago, replacing Marcel Koller. And actually, he has the best win percentage of any Austrian national team coach ever. So you may look at that and think, well, surely that's a good thing. But I suppose it depends what you want out of a manager. If results are going your way, then perhaps some people are prepared to stomach that a bit more. But recently, there have been a few wobbly performances. Notably, they did beat the Faroe Islands, but they were a goal down for a while. And then they got absolutely trounced 4-0 at home by Denmark, which is their biggest ever home qualification defeat a few weeks ago, just in the March international break. So I think there is a little bit of trepidation because, you can kind of put up with it if he's getting the results. But if the football's dour to watch and the results aren't there, then, there's a bit of skepticism creeping in.
Yeah, there is. So this first friendly for both sides, I believe, isn't it? England and Austria ahead of the Euros. How do you think he's going to play this? Is he going to go full strength in? Is he going to play it conservative, play a few fringe players just to ease the players in before the tournament gets underway?
My guess would be that he'll want to get the team closest to what he will play in the tournament out there on the pitch. I would expect them to line up in their usual 4-2-3-1. There are a couple of players who are in a real race against time for fitness. Julian Baumgartlinger of Bayer Leverkusen is a really key player in central midfield. He definitely won't play against England. And as well, Konrad Leimer of RB Leipzig as well is in a bit of a fitness battle. So there may be, a couple of changes, but I'd expect him largely to go for his tried and tested formation and players as well.
Okay. Going on to the Euros, Austria finished second in the qualifying behind Poland, and they've been drawn in Group C alongside North Macedonia, the Netherlands and Ukraine. It's going to be tough, really, to progress, won't it?
I think so. I think the initial reaction of many people is to see names like North Macedonia and think, well, we can win that game. But then you look at North Macedonia beating Germany recently, and
Absolutely.
they are a very, very good team. So there's North Macedonia, and then Ukraine obviously haven't won too many games recently, but they did beat Spain last year. And we all know about the quality of the Netherlands team. They might not be reaching the heights that they did 10 or 15 years ago, but still very, very dangerous. And I think Austria are very wary of group stages as well, because 4 years ago, they went into Euro 2016 on the back of an incredible, almost flawless qualification campaign where they won 9 games and drew 28 points out of 30. And then they got into the group stages with Portugal, Iceland and Hungary and finished bottom of the group, in a group where you only really needed to finish in the top 3 to go through. So they're going to be really up against it this time, and they will need to do a lot better than their last Euros if they're to have any chance whatsoever of going through and making a mark as well.
Well, yeah. And I mean, you go back to 2008, when the only other time I believe Austria were in it, and they hosted it as well, didn't they? And they kind of fell flat. And so they really do need to put a marker down in this tournament, really, don't they? To be taken seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that this team is a lot better than the one that was around in 2008, where, they were there by virtue of the fact they're a host nation. Yeah, this time around, they've got the players. The question is whether they can deliver the performances. And that's where I'm really doubtful. And I think that they will be looked at as a failure if they don't get out of the group, given the players they have. And I think it would be highly likely as well that Franco Foda would be sacked if they don't get through the group.
Going back to England against Austria, the history, just looking back, I believe the most recent meeting was back in 2007, November time, which I've read a lot. I think it was very cold that evening when England played over there. If I'm right in saying, I think there was a lot of snowball fights, from what I've read. Peter Crouch scored just before half-time there. 18 times the two teams have met. England have won 10, drawn 4 and lost 4. There's only been 3 competitive games. There was the World Cup qualifiers 2004, 2005, and you have to go back to 1958 for the World Cup finals. I'm kind of thinking, other than home nations, I wonder if Austria are probably one of the sides England have played most as friendly opponents. But looking through this, how the tournament could pan out, we could meet during the tournament, if it pans out that England finish 3rd, which I've said before would be a total disaster, but still progress, and Austria win Group C. Apparently we could meet that way.
I have to say, I think that's quite an unlikely scenario. Being an England fan and knowing the quality that England have and knowing where Austria are at right now, I do think that that's quite an unlikely scenario. Just to touch back on the history you mentioned there, actually, Austria's biggest ever defeat in any match ever was an 11-1 home loss to England in 1908. So a very, very long time ago, well over a century ago. But yeah, that's still in the record books as well.
And I think that's probably unlikely to be matched or beaten this time around.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, I mean, you would expect both teams to go through. But in that particular scenario, I think it's difficult for us to foresee at the moment, especially because I expect England to win their group.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let's go back to the podcast, the other Bundesliga podcast. Who else is on the pod with you?
My 2 colleagues, Tom Midler and Simon Clark. As I say, we're all Brits based here, working in sports in various roles. My background is mostly in translation. Tom's a commentator and Simon's a writer. So we kind of, complement our skills quite well together. And we started doing the other Bundesliga a few years ago, and you can find that now on Spotify, iTunes, all the usual places. We cover the domestic game, and we'll be doing a few pods during the Euros as well for anyone that's interested in hearing.
Excellent. And are you on Twitter as well? All the socials?
At other Bundesliga. Yep.
And there's also another little side project you've got on the go as well, isn't there?
Yes, it's called The Sweeper. This is more for your hipster football fans out there, but for anyone that wants to hear a little bit more about outside Europe's top 5 leagues, whether that's, Portugal, Poland, or even really small countries, the microstates like Liechtenstein or San Marino, we're doing a podcast called The Sweeper, which basically rounds up all the stories you wouldn't hear elsewhere. That's kind of the niche that we've set ourselves. First episode came out about a month ago. We had quite a lot of fun. We talked about football in Ukraine since the conflict with Russia and how teams like Shakhtar Donetsk don't play at home anymore, all that kind of thing. And about the world's smallest football league as well in the Scilly Isles, which has only 2 teams. So it's very diverse content.
Love it. And where can you find that once again?
That's at SweeperPod on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, and as well on all the usual pod platforms like Spotify and iTunes.
Love it. Wish you all the best with that, and indeed the other Bundesliga podcast. And Leif, thank you very much for your time and just giving us a little insight into the Austrian team.
Thanks for the invitation. And just to put any doubts aside, my loyalties firmly lie with England. So if England do meet Austria, I will be having my fingers firmly crossed for England.
Great stuff. Cheers, Leif.
Cheers.
Following Austria, we face Romania again at the Riverside, and this is on Sunday, the 10th of June. It's a 5:00 kickoff. Now, Romania, you have to go back to 1970 for the last of our 2 victories over them. And as always, it's good to speak with someone who knows a little more than I do. So please welcome Philippe Buduru from the Romanian football Twitter account. Philippe, hello there, you all right?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. How about you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Now, I might add that you're not actually in Romania. You're in Canada, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm based in Toronto.
But you've got Romanian roots, haven't you?
Yes, my father's side is completely Romanian.
So you've taken on his side. Your colours are firmly nailed to his side of the post.
Yeah, I identify strongly with that side of the family. So
great stuff. So yeah. What's your Romanian side?
Well, my dad's from Craiova, so southwest of Romania, and that's all I've got really to say about that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you were just speaking a moment ago. You're cup final winners over there.
Oh yeah, of course. Yesterday, my dad's club, Universitatea Craiova, they beat Astra Giurgiu 3-2 after extra time to win the cup for the second time in 3 years.
Okay. So celebrating in the Buduru house yesterday.
Yeah, and doubly so as a West Ham fan as well, since Astra have knocked out West Ham twice. So it was nice to beat them.
And yeah, I mean, Astra, you said have got relegated this season?
Yeah, it was, their owner is a bit of a nutter. He's got money, but he doesn't want to invest it, and he's just not paying players on time. So, they finally got relegated.
Owners who don't want to pay the money. That's a familiar story to some. Yeah. So Romania are coming to England in these European Championships warm-ups. Romania, actually, though, they're not in the Euros this time around, are they?
No, they just missed out by losing to Iceland last year in the playoffs. So that was a really bad game. I mean, we had a lot of absences, but we just didn't play well at all. Very disappointing. It was also the first match for our new coach, Mirel Rădoi. He's only he's in his 30s, I think.
So, how is sort of the national game, the national team scene at the moment over there?
Well, a lot of people still have a lot of pessimism because of the last 10, 15 years being so bad. You could even say 20, considering that Euro 2008 was the only decent one since in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of pessimism, but at the same time, there's a lot of hope because Hagi's academy, Viitorul, has been producing some good players in the last few years that have gone abroad, mainly Răzvan Marin, and he plays for Cagliari right now after leaving Ajax. And he's been one of the best key passers in Europe, from what I've seen. He was in the top 10 a few months ago.
Really?
I think he finished the season with 70 key passes and 6 assists. So he's done quite well there. He saved them from relegation.
Yeah. Looking through the squad, The only one that stands out to me is, and you've mentioned the name Hadji, it's his son Yanis Hadji, who plays for Rangers. Over here, we recognise him. He's just won the Scottish Premiership title, hasn't he, with Rangers? But there's no one else that really stands out to me.
I mean, I think we have some technical players, but in terms of popularity and consistency at the top level, we don't have too many like that. Players to look out for would be Denis Alibek. He's a very skillful striker. But also I would say Budescu and Cicaldo, who plays for Craiova, but he's wanted by several Serie A teams, and I think even Everton was linked to him.
Okay.
Last year.
I mean, I'm looking as well. It's quite a homegrown, but there's a lot of players that are still plying their trade over in Romania, aren't there? Which is good.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider, after I've just spoken to our Austrian correspondent, and very few players from the Austrian team are playing in the Austrian Bundesliga. So it's good to see that there's players picked from the Romanian top league.
Yeah, I think. I think a lot of it also has to do with the fact that this is a friendly, so we've kind of promoted some players from the league and from the under-21 generation.
Right.
But even in general, you're right. It's just we do kind of need to get some more players abroad at a good level. But at the same time, it's good for the league, right? We don't want to sell off too many of the talents. So it's kind of a balancing act, I think.
Yeah.
Big absences here for me are Ionuț Radu from Inter, who's the backup keeper there for now. Mihaila and Man at Parma. They were very good at the last international break. Well, Mihaila mostly. And Puskás and Andone from Brighton. So all these players are missing for this break, unfortunately.
Yeah, so whilst you're not at the Euros, there's actually another priority I think that you're looking forward to, is that Romania have actually qualified for the Olympics, haven't they?
Yeah, that we're very excited about, because that's once in a blue moon, right?
Yeah.
Literally.
Obviously hoping that the Olympics go ahead as well. If
they cancelled it now, I'd be very angry.
I don't think you'd be alone. But so are there players in this squad that are likely to be participating in that?
Yeah, the thing is, there's also some under-23 friendlies, which is sort of meant to be as like a preparation for those games.
Right.
But yeah, even from this squad, there would definitely be, I think, a few players. So Marin should be there if Cagliari let him go. Hadji is the one we're not sure about, because Rangers have said they don't want him to go.
Because it clashes with their Champions League qualification games or something like that. I did read that the other day, yeah.
Yeah, so a few players from FCSB also, which is formerly Steaua, although there's a bit of an identity crisis there.
Right.
But a few of those players won't be there. Yeah, I think there's a few players we could see there for sure, though.
Have they made the Olympic draw yet?
Yes, they have. We have one of the easiest groups. We have Honduras, New Zealand, and I think South Korea. Okay,
so it should be an interesting tournament. You'd hope to qualify out of the group stage then.
Yeah, just hoping that Son doesn't have to play for Korea.
Yes. I mentioned him already, Georgi Hagi. Well, be safe to say the most famous Romanian footballer?
Oh, yeah, in terms of, famous for sure. Even in terms of contribution to our football on and off the pitch, I'd say he's number one as well.
Yeah.
In terms of pure talent, that's another question. He's definitely top three for that.
Yeah.
But there's a couple others I would mention.
We've got to touch on the history, because it's a bit of a strange history if you look at sort of England's record against an opposition. Played 11, only won 2. It's been 6 draws, and Romania have won 3 of those games throughout the years. The last meeting between the two was pretty much a disaster from an English point of view, but I imagine it's well remembered in Romania. It was, of course, the Euro 2000 game where England, they were 1-0 down, 2-1 up, and they lost 3-2 in the last minutes with a penalty that was given away by Phil Neville. It was actually Alan Shearer's last cap as well, which I didn't realise at the time. And we met before that as well in the 1998 World Cup, where Romania won again. Well, so there's a bit of history on your side.
Yeah, definitely. I think we very much enjoyed those years, the 90s and early 2000s. We had a very good side. Unfortunately, our luck ran out after 2000.
Yeah.
We just missed out on 2002, and then from there it was just not very good. Although we still had talented players, we sort of failed until 2008.
Yeah. That team back then, with the likes of, say, Hagi, as Petrescu, Mutu as well, Moldovan. There must be heroes back in Romania, aren't they?
Yeah, I think Mutu and Kivu were very young then, so didn't have as much of an impact other than Kivu's lob goal, of course. But they're very well remembered. Petrescu is, I'd say he's the greatest Romanian right back for sure of all time. I think he's even one of the greatest Premier League fullbacks in those days.
So I think it was Sheffield Wednesday and Chelsea, I believe he played for, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Moldovan was Coventry. We had even Ghana at Wolves.
Right. Well, Mutu was at Chelsea, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah. But he blew it, of course.
Yeah, quite literally, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you look at it like that, quite a relationship between the Premier League and Romanian players. So it'd be interesting to see maybe in the future whether that there's a resurgence of some of those players. But what do you think the Romanian manager will be expecting from this game?
I think he's actually intending to attack he's very offensive minded, very new era type of coach. I think he'll have us play some combinative football, but at the same time we might struggle in defense.
Right.
We'll have to have Burka and Kirikesh have a good day at the back, because I think they'll be starters for sure. They're the only players that we have that are like physically capable at the top level. Yeah, it's gonna be a difficult day at the back, I think.
Right. So I mean, what positives do you think could be taken from it?
I think if we see Budescu get some minutes, if Hagi has a good day, and Marin, of course, maybe we'll see some nice actions from them, maybe a goal. But anything more than that, I wouldn't be expecting anything.
Go on, tell us about the Romanian football Twitter account and just your interest in football as well. How long's that been going, and where can we find it?
Yeah, so my Twitter handle is ROFTBL, so Row Football. Yeah, I just started it because I felt like people wanted a good, reliable source of news for Romanian football in English. I wanted to provide something that wasn't just sensationalist, was just giving you the exact views that you expect, right, from a unbiased reporter. So that's kind of what I was thinking.
And it's gone down well. People are following.
Yeah, people are enjoying it. I think I'm trying to engage more with the users.
Good stuff. Nice. It's good to have found you on there and follow you. And we'll, of course, give you a mention on the Three Lions podcast Twitter account. We'll link to you on there.
Appreciate that.
Philip, thank you very much for your time. Yeah, enjoy the game.
Thanks, mate.
It's always good to get the lay of the land when we go somewhere relatively new. And having not seen England live for some time, I know plenty will want to make the most of going up to Middlesbrough. So I thought we'd get a guide to it. And who better? Middlesbrough, an England fan. Please welcome Lee Bailey. Lee, hello there.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having us. I enjoy the pod. Thanks for getting me on.
Oh, you're very kind. Thank you thanks for coming along. How long have you been following England?
My first game was the game at the Riverside. I think it was against Slovakia back in 2004-ish, maybe 2002. But my first away game was Estonia just after the Brazil World Cup, I think. Right. 20, was it 1-0 Wayne Rooney free kick, I think. And then pretty much I've been pretty much to as much as I can from that day on, really.
It got the bug.
Yeah, massively. As soon as I'd done that Estonia game, like, we got back, because we went over, like, we didn't understand the travel club membership and stuff. So we just went without tickets and managed to get them in the home. And we got home. We instantly became members and we done Scotland away, which was the next one.
Oh, you're lucky to get on board with that one then.
Yeah. So that was our first official one. But Estonia was our first proper one.
Yeah. So you're a Middlesbrough fan and you go to the Riverside often, do you?
Yeah, as much as I can. I did have a season ticket for God knows how long, but now with my new job, like shift work, I can't really commit to it. But I do get there now and then, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. So, I mean, as we know, England have got the 2 games, Austria and Romania, being played up at Borough. And I thought, let's speak to someone who knows the town. I've never been to Middlesbrough. So go on, as a town, what's Middlesbrough like?
It's a bit rough around the edges, but if you dig deep, you'll find some good stuff. I think it's got a bit of an unfair reputation in some of the press, but it's not a bad city, not a bad town. Just as it's like any other town, really. There's good parts, there's bad parts.
Yeah, and by all accounts, the Riverside it's not central as sort of Ayresome Park used to be. But how far is it away from the town?
It's about, you can get there in about 15-20 minutes walking at a slow pace. There's plenty of taxis, which, like, from the town to the stadium, it's only about £3-4. So it is a bit out there. It's a bit. I hate the location of the stadium, to be honest, but about 20-minute walk and you're all right.
Okay. So, I mean, for people coming up from, either coming down from the north above Middlesbrough or coming up from the south, as I'll be doing, what's it like getting into the town, like driving wise or train? What's the deal there?
The closest big train station is Darlington. So if you're coming from London, you can be on the East Line, King's Cross to Darlington. That's about 2.5 hours, and then from Darlington it's half an hour. Road wise, you'll be on the A1, won't you? You're coming up on the A1.
Yeah. It's just a straight line, I think, isn't it?
Straight line, yeah. But my preferred choice would be the train. Train from anywhere down south onto the East Line up to Darlington and across on a local bone rattler train.
So go on, take us into the town centre. We all like a beer. We all like a pub to go and have a pre-match pint in. Take us around the town. Where's good?
There's Southfield Road is all right. That's got 2 or 3 decent bars with good atmosphere. That's right beside the university. So if that's your thing, then I'd head there. Bit further inwards towards the town is Baker Street and Bedford Street. It's full of like micro pubs, small, like basically old Victorian terrace houses done out into bars. I've been informed that it's a bit like Shoreditch.
Okay.
So there's plenty of them there. Further on into town, there's quite a few Wetherspoons, which is cheap, really, for people coming up from London. They'll be happy with the prices. And closer to the stadium, probably the closest one to the stadium is Dr. Brown's or the Six Meadows, but I'm not a fan of Six Meadows, really. It's not my cup of tea, but Dr. Brown's is okay.
Okay.
I personally would stick to Baker Street and Bedford Street and Linthorpe Road.
So you reckon that's where the majority of England fans are going to sort of congregate?
Yeah, I would say so. But another good one is Lloyd's in the middle of the town. It's walking distance from the train station, and it's a Wetherspoons. It's quite big. I think that'll be the main one, I think.
Okay. Is there a local brew, Middlesbrough? I've got this weird thing in my head that I was looking back through, like in Middlesbrough shirts, and there was Dickens, and I thought was there a brew, a pub or a beer called Dickens?
No,
have I got 2 and 2 totally made up to 5?
My knowledge. No, not to my knowledge.
No, okay.
Dickens was. I can't remember what Dickens was, but I don't think it was a brewing company. There's a company that does cider, and obviously it's based in Teesside, so they call it Teessider, like a play on words.
Okay.
So if you've got any of that, that's worthy of a bit, but it's hard to find. It's mainly like at farmers markets and stuff.
Right, gotcha. Yeah, perhaps I was barking up the wrong tree with the Dickens things.
Yeah, not for my knowledge.
Yeah. There's the other thing. There's food. Middlesbrough Parmo. Go on, tell me this. I've seen a picture. I've never had one. What's the deal?
It's like a heart attack on a plate, I think. But they're nice. They are nice. They're really nice. So there's quite a few decent restaurants along Linthorpe Road that you can find a Parmo in. It's basically chicken fillet type of thing.
Right.
Big slab of chicken with some bechamel sauce on top of it, and then breadcrumbs over that, and then grated cheese on top of it. It's worthy of getting. If you're going to come up to Middlesbrough, I think I wouldn't be from Middlesbrough if I didn't tell you about it. I think anyone who's coming up should probably give it a go. But they do sell Parmo in a bun in the stadium as well, so that could be worthy of a option.
No, it's something that I've got to try and sample that, and a local beer as well. So yeah, you said that it's about a 20-minute walk from the town to the ground. For anyone driving as well, is there parking in and around the ground?
There's parking at the stadium, but I'm not sure what the crack with that's going to be, because like on a borough game, it's usually for pass holders. So I'm not sure what the crack with that will be. But there's like leisure parks springing up over that way now, so there's a few shops and stuff there, so there will be parking over there. Probably my pick would be the Zetland multi-storey car park, but again, I'm not sure what time it's open till, so if it shuts at 8 o'clock, then it's going to be a problem for the Wednesday game. Yeah. You should be all right getting over the ground now with the new buildings that are going up there. You should be okay, I think.
Nice one. And when you're in the ground, where do you tend to sit? Where's a good view? Because I know, obviously, it's going to be a reduced capacity for the game. But where's a good place to sit?
Probably the best view is like the West Stand upper, bang on the halfway line. That's probably more the Prawn Sarnie area, if you can believe that. But my seat, where I sit in the South Stand, which I believe is where they're selling tickets at the minute. So that's behind the goal.
Right.
But it's just a typical modern stadium. There's not really a bad view, You're all right wherever you are, really. You're okay for views.
Yeah, it was one of those grounds that it was one of the first to be like for a club of Middlesbrough size to move grounds, from what I can remember. And I remember there was a programme on, I'm sure, back in the day that sort of followed. Was it Brian Robson and was it Steve Gibson, the chairman, I think? And sort of they really sort of told the story of the new ground.
Yeah, I think it was one of, if not the first, after the Taylor report, I think. So we've got that going for us. When people just say, it's just another identikit stadium, I'm like, well, at least it was the first of its kind.
Yeah.
Speaking of the chairman as well, going back to the pubs, I think it's Baker Street or Bedford Street. There's a pub called The Chairman, and it's dedicated to Steve Gibson, so that's a decent little pub for you.
Oh, nice one. And obviously there's the Gareth Southgate connection. How do you think he's going to be received up there?
He's a Borough legend. He's the first and only captain to ever win a cup for us, lift a cup, I should say. He captained us into Europe. Okay, it didn't work out as well as everyone would have hoped as a manager, but I think he's proven his critics since. For me, he'll always be a Borough legend, and I think that's the majority. Well, pretty much everyone still. He's a gentleman, but he was a great player as well. He wouldn't get a bad reception up here. He's still loved.
Love that. Lee, thank you very much for your time. I know you're on Twitter. If you want to give that away. Yeah.
It's at Smoggy_1986.
Lovely. Lee, thank you very much for your guide to Middlesbrough, and perhaps we can catch up.
Yeah, definitely. Cheers for having us.
Thanks to Lee Wingate from the other Bundesliga podcast, Philip Buduru from the Romanian football Twitter account, ROFTBL, and Lee Bailey for giving us that guide to Middlesbrough. If you'd like to have your say on any of the games, why not open up your phone, then your voice messages, give us a 30-second snapshot of your thoughts, including who you are and who you follow, and email it to threelionspodcast@gmail.com. And hopefully we can then do something similar for when the Euro games come up. As always, thank you for listening. All previous episodes are available at threelionspodcast.com or your usual podcast provider like Spotify or iTunes. And now is a great time to leave a review. They're always appreciated. And don't forget, the show is on all the usual social media channels. If you want to get in touch, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, just search 3 Lions Podcast. And if I remember, I'll be sharing some of the sights of Middlesbrough soon over on those channels. And if you are heading to Middlesbrough, travel safe, stay safe, enjoy it. And I'll be back soon, taking a look over it all. So until then, cheers.